The crystal champagne flute trembled in my hand as I pressed myself against the mahogany door of Carter's home office. His voice, usually so controlled and measured, carried through the thick wood with unusual clarity. I miss you too, Sam. Tomorrow night, same place, I'll make an excuse about working late. My name is Clara, and until that moment, I've been living what most would consider a picture-perfect life. As the lead curator at one of New York's most prestigious contemporary art galleries, I had a career I loved. As Mrs. Anderson, I had the enviable position of being married to one of Manhattan's most successful lawyers. But right then, listening to my husband arrange his next rendezvous, all I felt was numb. Clara, darling, there you are. I nearly dropped the glass as my mother-in-law's voice rang out behind me. Eloise, ever immaculate in her Chanel suit, clicked down the hallway on her Jimmy Choos. I stepped away from the door, forcing a smile. The caterers need your opinion on the hors d'oeuvres for next week's charity gala, she said, linking her arm through mine and steering me away from Carter's office. In the kitchen, servers bustled around with sample platters. I couldn't focus on a single bite, my mind replaying Carter's words. Eloise must have noticed my distraction because she dismissed the caterers with a wave of her manicured hand. "Something's troubling you," she said, not a question but a statement. "Carter's having an affair." The words tumbled out before I could stop them. Eloise's perfectly lined lips tightened. "And? And?" I stared at her. "What do you mean, and?" She sighed, reaching for her own champagne. "Darling, these things happen in our circle. The important thing is maintaining appearances. The Anderson name carries weight in this city. We can't afford scandal. Are you seriously suggesting I ignore this? I'm suggesting you be smart about it." She touched my arm. "Carter provides you with an enviable lifestyle. Think about what you'd be giving up. Besides," her voice dropped to a whisper, "it's probably just a phase. Men get restless sometimes." I pulled away from her touch. "Did you know about this?" "Let's just say nothing that happens in this family surprises me anymore." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Now, about those crab puffs. I need some air," I muttered, heading for the terrace. Outside, the Manhattan skyline sparkled like scattered diamonds. My phone buzzed with a text from my friend Ava. "Still on for coffee tomorrow?" "Yes," I typed back. "I need to talk to you. It's important." The glass door slid open behind me. Carter stepped out, his cologne announcing his presence before his voice did. "There's my beautiful wife," he said, wrapping his arms around me from behind. "Working late tonight, unfortunately. Big case." I wanted to scream, to confront him, to throw my ring in his face. Instead, I leaned back against him and said, "That's fine. I have plenty to work on for the upcoming exhibition anyway." "That's my girl," he murmured, kissing my neck. "Always so understanding." As he held me, looking out over the city we'd conquered together, an idea began to form. Carter had always supported my art career, proud to have a wife who moved in such cultured circles. He loved showing me off at gallery openings, introducing me as his talented curator wife. What if I could use that very platform to expose him? The exhibition I was planning would need a new direction. Something about facades, about the lies we tell in public versus private truths. I could create an entire show around the theme of betrayal and deception, right under his nose. "You seem deep in thought," Carter said, squeezing my shoulders. "Just thinking about the exhibition," I replied truthfully. "I think it's going to be my best work yet." "I'm sure it will be, sweetheart." He checked his watch. "I should head back to the office." As he left, Eloise appeared in the doorway. "Remember what I said, Clara. Some things are better left in the shadows." I smiled at her, feeling a cold determination settle in my chest. "Don't worry, Eloise. I know exactly what needs to stay hidden." And I did, for now. But soon, very soon, I would bring everything into the light. Let them talk about maintaining appearances then. I pulled out my phone again and texted Ava, "Bring your notebook tomorrow. I have an idea for the exhibition that's gonna change everything." The city lights blurred as I blinked back tears, but my resolve strengthened. They wanted me to be the perfect wife, to look the other way and play my part in their carefully constructed world of lies. Instead, I would give them a show they'd never forget. Art had always been my sanctuary, my way of speaking truth to power. Now it would become my weapon. "You want to do what?" Ava nearly choked on her latte, her eyes wide across our usual corner table at the quiet cafe near the gallery. "Create an exhibition that exposes everything," I said, keeping my voice low. "Not directly, of course, through metaphor, symbolism, carefully curated pieces that tell the story without telling it." Ava leaned forward, her notebook forgotten beside her coffee. "Clara, this is either brilliant or completely insane, maybe both. I already have some pieces in mind," I said, pulling out my tablet and opening my digital portfolio. "Remember that installation by Marina Abramovich? The one about trust and betrayal? The one where she stood still while the audience could do anything to her? That was intense." "Exactly. I'm thinking of something similar, but more—" I swiped through some images. "Personal. Look at this artist's work." Ava studied the screen. "These are gorgeous. The way the mirrors fragment the image." "Oh," she looked up at me. "It's about broken reflections, shattered perspectives." "Now you're getting it." I smiled. "Each piece will tell part of the story. The perfect marriage, the faithful husband, the supportive mother-in-law, all fractured, revealing what lies beneath. But won't Carter recognize himself in this? That's the beauty of it. He's so convinced of his own cleverness, he'll never see it. Men like him don't think they can be caught, let alone exposed through art." The cafe door chimed, and I instinctively tensed. But it was just Rolando, our senior curator, walking in with his usual morning scone. "Ladies," he called out, heading our way, "planning the next big show." "Actually, yes," I said, gesturing for him to join us. "I was just sharing my concept with Ava. What are your thoughts on an exhibition about hidden truths?" Rolando's eyes lit up as he pulled up a chair. "Go on." "Art that explores the gap between public and private lives, the facades we maintain versus the reality underneath. Each piece would reveal something different about human nature, about the lies we tell ourselves and others." "Timely." Rolando nodded, breaking off a piece of his scone. "In this age of social media perfection, we're all hiding something, aren't we?" "Some more than others," Ava muttered into her coffee. "I have a list of artists," I continued, showing Rolando my tablet. "Each one deals with themes of deception, betrayal, and revelation in their own way. This could be powerful," he said, scrolling through the images. "But you'll need a strong narrative thread to tie it all together. Something personal, something that makes it more than just another commentary on modern life." "Trust me," I said. "Personal won't be a problem." "Have you talked to Caroline about using her gallery space?" Ava asked. "Not yet. I'm meeting her this afternoon." "Caroline's perfect for this," Rolando said. "She loves controversy, and her space has those amazing sightlines. You could create some really interesting perspectives there." My phone buzzed. A text from Carter. "Missing you. Dinner tonight?" I showed it to Ava, who rolled her eyes. "The audacity," she whispered. "Can't tonight, working late on the exhibition," I typed back. "Speaking of which," Rolando said, standing up, "I should head to the gallery, but Clara, I'm excited about this. It feels important." After he left, Ava grabbed my hand. "Are you sure about this? Once you start down this path—" "I'm sure," I said, squeezing her hand back. "You know what Eloise told me? that I should just accept it, that this is normal in their world. God, that woman. Exactly. So let's show them their world, reflected back at them through art. Let's make them see themselves the way others see them. And if it backfires, I thought about Carter's smug smile, about Eloise's dismissive wave, about the woman named Sam, who was probably sitting in some expensive restaurant right now, wearing jewelry my husband bought her. Then at least I'll go down fighting, with my art on my terms. Ava picked up her notebook and finally started writing. Okay, let's plan this properly. We'll need to be subtle but clear, revealing but protected legally. I've already started sketching out the layout, I said, pulling out my own notebook. The first room will be all about perfect surfaces, mirrors, polished metal, pristine photographs. Then, as visitors move through the space, things start to crack, to reveal what's underneath. Like your marriage, Ava said softly. Like everything in this city. We're all just maintaining appearances, aren't we? Well, I'm done with that. My phone buzzed again. Carter, miss you too? Tomorrow night? I showed Ava the text, and she shook her head. He's not even trying to hide it anymore. No, I said, putting the phone away without responding. But soon he won't have to. Soon everyone will see exactly who he is. We spent the next hour planning, plotting, our coffee growing cold as we mapped out my revenge in careful artistic detail. With each note we made, each sketch we drew, I felt stronger. They wanted me to be silent, to be complicit. Instead, I would turn their betrayal into art and let the world judge them as they deserved. The symbolism is exquisite, Rolando said, walking through the gallery's empty space as I showed him the preliminary sketches. These shattered mirror installations in the first room, they'll create a disorienting effect. That's the idea, I replied, watching his face as he studied my plans. Visitors will see themselves reflected, but fragmented, distorted. And these photographs? He pointed to my mock-ups. Family portraits, seemingly perfect at first glance. But when you look closer, I stepped forward, indicating the subtle details. The cracks appear, the forced smiles, the hands that don't quite touch. Like those old Victorian photos where someone had to hold the dead still for the camera, Rolando mused. Beautiful on the surface, disturbing underneath. My phone vibrated. Carter again. Big win at court today. Celebrating with the team. Don't wait up. The team. Right. Everything okay? Rolando asked, noticing my expression. Fine, I said, perhaps too quickly. Just my husband working late again. Ah, yes, Carter. Rolando's tone was careful, measured. I saw him at the Martinez party last week. He seemed preoccupied. Before I could respond, Ava burst into the gallery, her face flushed. Clara, we need to talk. Now. Rolando took the hint. I'll leave you ladies to it. Clara, the concept is approved. Whatever you need, you have my full support. Once he left, Ava grabbed my arm and pulled me into the storage room. You're not going to believe what I just heard. What? I was at Café Noir for lunch, and I overheard two women talking. One of them works at Carter's firm. My stomach tightened. And? Apparently, this isn't the first time. The affair with Sam? It's like an open secret at his office. Everyone knows. They just look the other way. I leaned against a crated sculpture, feeling suddenly dizzy. How long? At least a year, maybe longer. But that's not all. Ava hesitated. They mentioned Eloise, said she's been helping cover for him, making excuses to you, arranging alibis. The room seemed to spin. My own mother-in-law, actively participating in the deception. All those times she'd insisted I attend charity functions alone because Carter was working late. All those sympathetic smiles when I mentioned not seeing much of my husband lately. Clara? Ava touched my shoulder. Maybe we should stop. The exhibition, it might hurt you more than them. I straightened up, anger replacing shock. No, this makes it even more important. They've all been laughing at me, thinking I'm some naive fool who can't see what's right in front of her. What are you gonna do? I walked back into the main gallery space, my heels echoing on the polished floor. I'm going to add another element to the exhibition, a video installation. What kind of video? Security footage. Every high-end hotel in Manhattan has it. Every restaurant where they've met. Every parking garage where they've... Can you get access to that? I smiled grimly. Carter's not the only one with connections in this city. And unlike him, I've actually maintained genuine friendships. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Eloise. Darling, don't forget the charity board meeting tomorrow. Carter mentioned he has to work late again, so I'll pick you up. Of course you will, I muttered. What? Ava asked. Nothing, just my mother-in-law, playing her part perfectly. I showed her the text. Look at how casual she is about it. Like it's completely normal for a husband to never be available for his wife's events. Are you going to the meeting? Oh, yes, I'll play my part too, for now. I walked to the center of the gallery, spreading my arms to encompass the space. But in 3 months, this room will tell the real story. Every betrayal, every lie, every calculated deception, all of it transformed into art. You're scary when you're plotting revenge, Ava said, but she was smiling. I learned from the best. They wanted me to be the perfect wife? Fine, I'll be so perfect they'll never see it coming. Just then, Rolando poked his head back in. Clara, Caroline's on the phone. She wants to discuss opening night details. Perfect timing, I said, heading to his office. We need to start the guest list anyway. Already? Ava called after me. I turned back, feeling a cold smile spread across my face. Of course, after all, we want to make sure all the right people are there to witness the unveiling, every single one of them. As I walked away, I heard Ava whisper to herself, Hell hath no fury. She had no idea. This wasn't just about fury anymore. This was about justice, about truth, about turning their weapons of social perfection against them. They thought art was just pretty pictures on a wall. I would show them its real power. Let them keep their secrets for now. In 3 months, every carefully maintained facade would shatter like the mirrors in my exhibition, and I would be there to watch it all fall apart, piece by beautiful piece. Caroline's gallery hummed with activity as workers installed the first pieces of my exhibition. The morning light streamed through the tall windows, catching the edges of the fractured mirrors we just mounted. It's more powerful than I expected, Caroline said, standing beside me. These reflections, they're almost violent. Wait until you see it with the lighting we planned, I replied, watching a worker adjust one of the larger pieces. Each mirror will cast shadows that look like cracks spreading across the walls. And you're sure about the video installations? Carolyn lowered her voice. Given Carter's connection to some of our major donors, that's exactly why we need them, I cut in. Art shouldn't just be pretty pictures for rich people's walls. It should make them uncomfortable sometimes. The gallery door chimed, and Carter walked in. My heart jumped. He rarely visited my workspaces. Surprise! He called out, striding toward us with that confident swagger that used to make me weak in the knees. Thought I'd stop by and see how my talented wife's new show is coming along. Caroline shot me a worried glance before plastering on her professional smile. Carter, what a lovely surprise. Clara's work is revolutionary. He wrapped an arm around my waist, and I forced myself not to stiffen. That's my girl, always pushing boundaries. You have no idea, I murmured. Carter walked toward the nearest installation, his reflection multiplying and distorting across the shattered surface. Interesting choice. What's the theme again, honey? Truth and perception, I said, watching him examine his fragmented image. How we see ourselves versus how others see us. Deep, he chuckled, but his eyes narrowed slightly as he moved to the next piece. This one showed a series of photographs, couples at social events, their faces becoming increasingly distorted through layers of glass. These couples look familiar, he said. They should. They're from the last charity gala. He stepped closer, squinting. Is that us? Among others, I said lightly. You know how these society events are. Everyone smiling for the camera while wondering what everyone else is really thinking. Caroline cleared her throat. Clara, we should discuss the opening night arrangements. Carter, will you be able to attend? It's 3 weeks from Friday. Wouldn't miss it, he said, finally turning away from the photos. Though I might be a bit late. Big case that week. Of course, I smiled. I'm sure Sam will understand if you have to reschedule. His head snapped toward me, but I was already walking away with Carolyn. The guest list needs finalizing, I called over my shoulder. So many important people to invite. Once we were in Caroline's office, she closed the door. That was intense. Are you okay? Better than okay, I said, pulling out my notebook. Did you see his face when he saw those photos? He's starting to feel it, even if he doesn't know what he's feeling yet. Clara, Caroline leaned against her desk. I've known you for years. This isn't just an exhibition anymore, is it? It never was, she sighed. The video installations, they're real footage, aren't they? Not just artistic recreations. Would it change your mind about showing them? No, she said after a long pause. But I need to know what I'm getting into. Carter has powerful friends. So do I. I opened my notebook to reveal a list of names, including every person he's ever betrayed or stepped on to get ahead. They're all coming to opening night. Jesus, Caroline whispered, scanning the list. Half the legal community in Manhattan is on here, plus their wives, their colleagues, their secrets. I closed the notebook. Carter thinks he's the only one who knows how to play this game. He's wrong. A knock at the door interrupted us. Ava poked her head in. Clara, the lighting designer is here, and you should see this. She handed me her phone. On the screen was a social media post, a photo of Carter leaving an upscale hotel, his hand on the small of a woman's back. The caption read, Spotted, top lawyer with mystery woman, wife reportedly focused on her art career. It's starting, I said, showing Caroline the post. The cracks are spreading. What if he sees it? Ava asked. He won't. Men like Carter don't read gossip posts. They're too busy making the gossip. Caroline stood up straight, smoothing her skirt. Well, if we're doing this, let's do it right. I'm moving your video installations to the main room. Maximum impact. Thank you, I said, genuinely touched by her support. Don't thank me yet. This could blow up in all our faces. Maybe, I admitted. But sometimes you have to break things to fix them. We walked back into the gallery space. Carter was gone, but his presence lingered in the fractured reflections of the mirrors. Soon those reflections would show everyone exactly who he was, who they all were. My phone buzzed with a text from Eloise. Darling, let's do lunch tomorrow. We need to discuss your exhibition. Perfect timing, I said to Ava. Looks like my mother-in-law is getting nervous. Are you going to meet her? I looked up at the shattered mirrors, at the 1,000 broken versions of myself looking back. Of course. After all, she deserves a preview of what's coming. She helped create it. Eloise was already seated at our usual table at Le Petit Jardin when I arrived, a martini in front of her despite the early hour. Her perfectly manicured fingers drummed against the white tablecloth as I approached. Clara, darling, she said, air-kissing my cheeks. I took the liberty of ordering your usual. How thoughtful, I replied, settling into my chair as a waiter appeared with my wine. I stopped by Caroline's gallery yesterday, Eloise said, cutting straight to the chase. After you'd left. Did you enjoy the preview? She took a careful sip of her martini. Enjoy isn't quite the word I'd use. Those mirrors, they're rather unsettling, don't you think? That's the point. And those photographs? She leaned forward. People might get the wrong idea. Or the right one. The waiter returned to take our orders. Eloise barely glanced at him as she requested her usual salad. I ordered nothing. You're playing a dangerous game, she said once we were alone again. Carter's position in this city is built on lies, I finished for her. Just like his marriage. Lower your voice, she hissed, glancing around. This isn't about truth, Clara. It's about stability, about maintaining what we've built. What you've built is a house of cards, and you know it. Eloise's perfectly lined lips tightened. I received an interesting call this morning from someone at the Plaza Hotel. My heart skipped, but I kept my face neutral. Oh? They mentioned you'd been asking questions, requesting certain security footage. For my art installation, I said smoothly. It's a commentary on surveillance in modern society. Don't play games with me. She set her glass down hard enough that the olive jumped. I've spent 30 years protecting this family's reputation. By helping your son cheat on his wife, by understanding that sometimes personal satisfaction must be sacrificed for the greater good. I laughed, the sound sharp enough to draw looks from nearby tables. The greater good. Is that what you told yourself when you helped arrange his meetings with Sam? When you covered for him at charity events? Eloise's face went pale. How did you know about Sam? I've known for months, just like I know about the others before her, the ones you helped hide too. A text message lit up my phone. Unknown number. Your mother-in-law isn't the only one who helped cover Carter's tracks. Some of us want to make things right. I showed the message to Eloise, watching the color drain further from her face. It seems not everyone is as committed to protecting the family reputation as you are, I said. What do you want? Her voice was barely a whisper. I want you to be there on opening night, front row, watching as every carefully maintained lie you've built comes crashing down. You'll destroy yourself too. Maybe. I stood up, dropping my unused napkin on the table. But at least I'll be free. Clara, wait. Eloise grabbed my wrist. There are things you don't know about Carter's work, about where the money really comes from. Save it for the exhibition, I said, pulling free. I'm sure it'll make fascinating material for the video installations. As I walked out of the restaurant, my phone buzzed again. Another anonymous message. Check your email. Sent proof of Carter's offshore accounts. Your mother-in-law's name is on them, too. Back at the gallery, I found Ava waiting with a strange expression. What's wrong? I asked. Someone sent us a package, she said, pointing to a large envelope on my desk. Security footage from the St. Regis and financial documents. Lots of them. I opened the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside were photos, bank statements, hotel receipts, a paper trail of betrayal spanning years. Who sent these? Ava asked. Someone else Carter betrayed, I said, spreading the documents across my desk. Someone who's been waiting for a chance to expose him. This is bigger than an affair, isn't it? Much bigger. I picked up a bank statement showing transfers to accounts in the Cayman Islands. Eloise tried to warn me, in her way, said there were things I didn't know about where the money comes from. What are you going to do? I walked to the gallery space where workers were installing the video screens. We're going to tell the whole story, not just about a cheating husband, but about an entire system of lies and corruption. That's not art anymore, Ava said quietly. That's warfare. No, I corrected her, watching my reflection split and multiply across the shattered mirrors. It's justice. and it's coming for all of them. My phone buzzed one final time. Carter. Working late again tonight, sweetheart. Don't wait up. I smiled at the message, knowing it would be one of his last lies. Don't worry, I typed back. I have plenty to keep me busy at the gallery. 3 more weeks until opening night. 3 weeks until every mirror showed them exactly who they were. Opening night arrived with a palpable tension in the air. The gallery buzzed with Manhattan's elite, champagne glasses clinking as they moved through the space, their reflections multiplying and distorting in my carefully arranged mirrors. Quite unsettling, I overheard one woman whisper to her companion. The way the images fragment, it's like looking at a broken truth. Carter arrived fashionably late, as promised, with Eloise on his arm. Both wore practiced smiles that faltered slightly as they entered the main room. Darling, Carter called out, making his way toward me. This is extraordinary. Isn't it? I smiled, accepting his kiss on my cheek. The video installations are about to start. You should find a good spot to watch. Eloise's hand tightened on her champagne glass. Perhaps we should mingle first. No, Mother, Carter said. Let's see what my talented wife has created. The lights dimmed right on cue. The first video began playing across the massive screens, security footage from various hotels, edited together like a dance, figures moving through lobbies, entering elevators, disappearing into rooms. The faces were blurred, but the body language was unmistakable. Rather provocative, Terrence, a family friend, commented from nearby. Almost feels like watching something we shouldn't. That's exactly the point, I said loudly enough for Carter to hear. We're all watching things we pretend not to see. The next sequence started, financial documents appearing and dissolving, account numbers flashing across the screens, interspersed with footage of handshakes in parking garages and manila envelopes changing hands. Fascinating choice of subject matter, Terrence mused, adjusting his glasses. Almost reminds me of that case last year, the one with the offshore accounts. Carter's face had gone pale. Clara, a word? Not now, honey. The show's just getting started. The crowd grew quieter as more footage played. Someone gasped as a particular sequence showed a familiar hotel entrance, a familiar figure emerging with a woman who was definitely not his wife. Is that? I heard someone whisper. It couldn't be. Eloise appeared at my elbow, her voice a desperate hiss. Stop this, now. Why? I asked innocently. It's just art. You know exactly what you're doing. Do I? I turned to face her fully. Or am I just holding up a mirror? The final sequence began, a montage of society events, charity galas, public appearances, the perfect smiles, the practiced poses, all intercut with the hidden moments, the secret meetings, the furtive exchanges, the lies beneath the surface. This is remarkable work, Caroline said, appearing beside me. The juxtaposition of public and private moments, it's devastating. Clara, Carter's voice was tight as he grabbed my arm. We need to talk, now. Let go of my arm, Carter. People are watching. People are always watching, he snarled. That's the whole damn point, isn't it? Is everything okay here? Terrence asked, stepping closer. Fine, Carter said, releasing me. Just discussing the artistic merits of my wife's work. Yes, I smiled. Carter was just saying how revealing art can be. The lights came up gradually. The crowd had grown larger, and I noticed several people filming with their phones. Perfect. Quite a statement piece, a art critic said, scribbling in his notebook. The way it explores the intersection of personal and public corruption. Corruption is a strong word. Eloise cut in smoothly. But accurate, I added. Don't you think, Mother? Before she could respond, a commotion near the entrance drew everyone's attention. Two men in suits were walking in, their badges visible at their belts. "Federal agents," someone whispered. Carter's face went from pale to ashen. "Clara, what have you done?" "Me? I just created an art exhibition about truth, about consequences." I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "About all the things you and your mother thought you could hide forever." "You'll go down with us," Eloise hissed. "No," I smiled, "I won't, because unlike you, I've kept evidence of my own innocence. Every time I questioned the money, every time I was deliberately kept in the dark, it's all documented." The agents were moving through the crowd now, heading our way. "You could have just divorced me," Carter said, his composure finally cracking. "This was never just about our marriage," I replied. "This was about justice for everyone you've hurt, everyone you've betrayed." "Mr. Anderson," one of the agents called out, "we'd like to ask you some questions." I stepped back, watching as the carefully constructed world of lies began to crumble. Phones were out everywhere now, recording as Carter and Eloise were led away for questioning. The exhibition had become performance art in the truest sense. "Was this your plan all along?" Ava asked, appearing at my side. "Art should tell the truth," I said, watching my husband's reflection fragment and disappear in the shattered mirrors. "Even when the truth hurts." The morning after the exhibition, my face was splashed across every major news outlet in New York. "Art curator exposes high-profile legal scandal through groundbreaking exhibition," read one headline. "Manhattan's elite brought down by mirror images," declared another. I sat in Caroline's office, watching the media storm unfold on multiple screens, while my phone buzzed constantly with messages and calls. "Good Morning America wants an interview," Ava said, scrolling through her tablet. "So does every major network. You've become the whistleblower of the year." "I'm not a whistleblower," I replied. "I'm an artist." "You're both," Caroline said, entering with 3 cups of coffee. "And you're also about to be served with divorce papers, I imagine." "Already happened." This morning's delivery included papers from Carter's lawyer and a cease and desist letter from Eloise. "Can they stop the exhibition?" Ava asked. "They can try," Caroline smirked. "But everything we showed was either public record or legally obtained. Besides, the footage is already all over social media." My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Opening it revealed a message from Sam. "Can we meet? There's more you should know." "Carter's mistress wants to talk," I told Ava. "Don't go alone." "I won't." I forwarded the message to the FBI agent who'd given me his card last night. We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe, far from our usual social circles. Sam was already there when I arrived, along with the federal agent who sat discreetly at a nearby table. "Thank you for coming," Sam said, her hands wrapped around a coffee cup. She looked different from the glimpses I'd caught of her. Smaller, less threatening. "Why did you want to meet?" "To apologize and to explain." She pulled out a folder. "I wasn't just Carter's mistress. I was his assistant at the firm. I saw everything." "The offshore accounts?" She nodded. "And worse, the money laundering, the bribes, the evidence tampering. Eloise wasn't just covering up affairs. She was managing a network of corruption that spread through half the law firms in Manhattan." "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because I kept copies." She slid the folder across the table. "Of everything. I told myself it was insurance, but really, I was waiting for someone brave enough to expose it all." I opened the folder, scanning documents that showed just how deep the corruption went. "These could put people in prison." "They should be in prison," Sam said firmly. "I know what you must think of me, but I'm tired of being part of their lies." "Why didn't you come forward before?" "Fear, shame, the usual reasons." She smiled bitterly. Plus, they're very good at making you feel special, aren't they? Like you're part of some exclusive club. Until you realize the club is just a prison with better furniture. Sam laughed, then grew serious. The FBI has everything in that folder. I gave them my official statement this morning. But I wanted you to have copies too, for your next exhibition, maybe. There's going to be a next one? There should be. What you did. It wasn't just about Carter or Eloise. You showed how art can expose truth in a way nothing else can. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Prominent lawyer Carter Anderson resigns amid corruption investigation. It's starting, Sam said, looking at her own phone. The whole house of cards is falling. Are you ready for what comes next? I asked her. The media attention, the accusations, the blame? Are you? I have my art, I said. It's all I ever really had. That's not true. Ava's voice came from behind me. She'd been watching from another table. You have people who believe in truth, who believe in you. Sam stood up, gathering her things. I should go. My lawyer's expecting me. She paused. For what it's worth, I really am sorry. After she left, Ava took her place. You okay? Look at this, I said, showing her the documents. Every corrupt deal, every bribe, every betrayal, all carefully documented. She's been gathering evidence for years. While sleeping with your husband. While waiting for someone to be brave enough to act, I corrected. We all have our own prisons to escape from. My phone buzzed again. A message from Eloise. You've destroyed everything we built. No, I typed back. I just showed everyone what you really built. The truth did the rest. Ava read the exchange over my shoulder. What now? I looked out the cafe window at the city beyond. The same city that had seemed like such a glittering prize when I first married Carter. Now I saw it differently, not as a playground for the privileged, but as a canvas waiting for truth to be painted across it. Now, I said, we plan the next exhibition. Something about redemption this time, about rising from the ashes of other people's lies. Always the artist, Ava smiled. It's who I am, I replied. It's who I've always been. They just helped me prove it. The autumn breeze carried the scent of change as I stood at the podium, facing a packed auditorium at the Museum of Modern Art. Camera flashes punctuated the darkness like stars. Art isn't just about beauty, I said into the microphone. It's about truth. Sometimes ugly truth, sometimes dangerous truth, but always truth. In the front row, Ava gave me an encouraging nod. Behind her sat Carolyn, Rolando, and dozens of other artists who joined our movement for transparency in the art world. When I created Shattered Reflections, I wasn't just exposing one man's lies or one family's corruption. I was challenging all of us to look harder at our own reflections. My phone vibrated in my pocket. Probably another message from Carter's lawyer about the divorce proceedings. I ignored it. Since that night, hundreds of people have come forward with their own stories, not just about corruption in the legal world, but about all the ways we maintain facades at the expense of truth. The screen behind me filled with images, my shattered mirror installations, now touring galleries worldwide. The video footage that brought down Carter's firm. The documents Sam provided that led to indictments across Manhattan's legal community. Today, I'm announcing the creation of the Truth in Art Foundation. We'll provide grants to artists who dare to expose corruption through their work, who use their talent not just to create beauty, but to create change. Applause erupted, drowning out my next words. I waited for it to subside. Our first exhibition opens tonight. It features works from 20 artists, each telling a story of truth triumphing over deception. And yes, I smiled, there will be mirrors. The audience laughed, but it was knowing laughter. They understood now. After the speech, during the reception, Terrence approached me with tears in his eyes. I should have spoken up years ago, he said. I saw what Carter and Eloise were doing. We all did. We just looked away. But not anymore, I replied, touching his arm gently. No, not anymore. He gestured to the crowd. Look at what you've started. Around us, artists mingled with journalists, activists with gallery owners. The walls displayed powerful works exposing everything from environmental corruption to political fraud. Clara, a familiar voice made me turn. Sam stood there, looking nervous but determined. I wanted you to know, I'm testifying next week against all of them. Are you ready? She nodded. Thanks to you. Your exhibition gave me courage. You had the courage, I said. You just needed a mirror to see it in. Ava appeared at my elbow. Sorry to interrupt, but there's someone you need to meet. She led me to a small group that included the district attorney and several federal agents. Ms. Anderson, the DA said, then caught herself. Sorry, you're using your maiden name now? Just Clara, I smiled. New beginnings deserve new names. Well, Clara, your work has helped us crack cases we've been building for years. We'd like to discuss making art part of our public corruption task force. You want to fight crime with art? We want to fight crime with truth, she corrected. You've proven it can be more effective than traditional methods. As we discussed possibilities, my phone buzzed again. This time I checked it. A message from Eloise's private number. You've won. The plea deal is signed. Carter confessed to everything. I hope you're satisfied with what you've destroyed. I showed the message to Ava, who snorted. Still playing the victim. No, I said, putting the phone away. Still not understanding. I didn't destroy anything real. I just broke the mirrors that were hiding the truth. Later that night, as the new exhibition opened to the public, I stood in the center of the main gallery. The walls held works from artists around the world, each piece a reflection of truth breaking through deception. Caroline joined me, champagne in hand. Look at what you've created. What we've all created, I corrected her. Every person who chose truth over comfort, exposure over safety. The New York Times is calling it a revolution in activist art. I shook my head. It's simpler than that. It's just people finally looking at themselves honestly in the mirror. Through the gallery windows, I could see the Manhattan skyline, the same view I'd once shared with Carter on our terrace. But now I saw it differently. Not as a playground for the privileged, but as a canvas waiting for more truth to be painted across it. Ready for whatever comes next? Ava asked, joining us. I looked around at the crowded gallery, at the powerful works of truth-telling art, at the faces of people no longer willing to look away from reality. Yes, I said, because this time, I'm not just reflecting the truth, I'm creating it. The mirrors around us caught and multiplied our images, but they weren't shattered anymore. They were whole, clear, and honest, just like the truth they reflected.